The Gourmet Gladiator. Chapter 17, Toby's Problem. I opened my eyes to see Roxy's head on my chest, fast asleep. I didn't even take time to notice what she was wearing before we got here. She was wearing a nice little yellow dress. But her right short sleeve was ripped terribly. Little scares were there in replacement of the sleeve. And here I am laying down without any clothes other than scraps of what was a black t-shirt and ripped jeans. I look around to see blood and rubble scattered around. I turn my body to face Roxy. She was sleeping peacefully. Her hot breath was brushing against my chest. Her body is so small compared to mine. I take up her hand in mine. Her eyes flicker open and I lay there with no words to explain my actions. Want to head back to the shelter? She asks. Her smile is cute and innocent. Something that I didn't expect to see. I shook my head yes, but the truth was far from it. I could lay here by her side all day. Good. Let's get going. She then sits up and brushes the dirt off of her nice dress. As she stands up, she extends her calloused hand towards me. I grab her hand and lift myself up to my feet. You have soft hands, she giggles. My mind is just flabbergasted at what words are coming out of her mouth. She's not talking to me as if she just saw me fly off the handle over a bully and ex-girlfriend. What's going on with you? I ask firmly. She looks up at me with a smile before placing her hand on my cheek. Nothing. You just had an accident. Let's get home, she says softly. An accident. I could tell she didn't want to talk about it. The harm that I caused here and the fleeing bodies is all that she wants to avoid. But why? Why does she want to hide my vengeance? And it wasn't an accident. George came over to me. He pressed my buttons. He started this fight once again. No, you go. I'm going on a walk, I state firmly as I turn around and walk away from her. I don't dare to look back at her face. I might end up hurting her again. And if I did that again, I don't know if I'll have to do it again. The icebreakers demanded that we take over that shelter in 2 years on my 18th birthday. Not just the shelter, but this whole city will be under our grasp. But I need to get stronger than I am now. That means I need to find people with even stronger powers. Now, how do I do that? I look behind me to see the park barely in my vision. I look to my right and there was Roxy walking beside me in perfect silence. I couldn't even hear her footsteps. What are you doing here? I know you want to get stronger. Maybe I can help you with this, she states without looking up at me. Her eyes were glued in front of her. How so? I asked, taking in her bait. Well, I think I understand your powers now. And with that you need someone with some powerful abilities to amplify. But bodies are not always around. You have to see them, use them, and then touch them to copy their power and then amplify it. So the question is, how do we get your powers without them having to be a body around? I'm guessing you know the answer to that question. Sure do. Follow me, she states as she holds my hand and we continue walking straight. There's a man who can craft you a weapon with the iron in people's blood. Interesting, no? That sure is interesting, I say. A blacksmith that uses blood to craft weapons. But how does that solve my problem? You see, we get our powers through food that we eat, and then our body absorbs the power into every fiber and blood cell in our body. So you can possibly copy the power from the blood of your opponents. It was indeed interesting what Roxy was saying, but my mind is clouded. I couldn't stop thinking about Rebecca or George. Both of them I could easily destroy, and yet neither of them really deserves my wrath. Bob is the one that I want to destroy. He was the one that gave me these powers against my will. He made me the monster I am today. Roxy squeezes my hand tighter, snapping me out of my funk to look at her face. She was smiling, but her skin had goosebumps. Was she scared? I look around and see only pedestrians walking around talking amongst themselves. Nothing out of place, nothing strange in how people were acting around us. Is everything all right, Roxy? I ask as I look at her smiling. She was clearly acting, and it's not like she was good at it. She was practically shaking uncontrollably from fear. Oh, it's just that you're scary. Her words were so simple, like knives. She truly just stated that in the most bland and blunt way she could say it. She wasn't scared of the other people walking on the street. She was scared of the guy who was holding her hand. I look down and see my knuckles turning white while her hands are damn near turning purple. I quickly loosen my grip. I'm so sorry. I'll try to be more gentle. I put my left hand behind my head nervously. But she just kept staring out with a smile on her face. It's fine. But you're going to want to become more powerful. And you saved my life. This is how I will repay you. Another knife into my chest. Is this what she thought I wanted when I saved her? All just so that she could pay me back. My head spun a little bit with the decision that I could make right now as I walked beside her. She was beautiful and she didn't shy from my harsh nature. And most of all, she doesn't know that really deep down that I am a fat loser. I spun her around till her face was looking up at mine. Her face was full of shock as her jaw hung open. I gently hold her arms as I look into her eyes. I don't know how to say this. I'm awkward and everything I know about you is that you're just in general a good person that would sacrifice herself for the sake of others. And when you saw that I caused a fight, you didn't leave me like anyone else. You stayed by my side. And I think that I might like you. I could feel my cheeks glow red out of embarrassment. She was looking at me and that only made me more nervous. Her hands are mine, her lips just lean away. My heart was beating fast and millions of thoughts ran through my mind. The reason why I said I didn't want you to leave me was because you showed me kindness that I didn't see before. And for you to leave me right now would be the greatest mistake in my life. I already gave up school, family, and friends that I did have are no longer there. But you are. And since day one you showed me nothing but how well you treated others. I just can't say, In mid-sentence, Roxy pushes her finger up to my mouth and silences me. She stares into my eyes. Well, Mr. 16-year-old, I think that I feel the same. It was a relief to hear those words. And yet I could feel my knees wobbling where they stood. And when she stands on her tiptoes to lean in for a kiss, my brain switches off. It was a kiss that I would not ever regret. Here we were at the place that Roxy had mentioned. It was a place called Laren Fala, which must mean something like Bloodsmith or something. But the building was nothing like one would expect of a smithery. No anvils or molten metal. Heck, there wasn't even metal laying around. The wallpaper was blue and nearly tearing itself off of the wall. But what laid against the walls were probably hundreds of swords, maces, shields, and all the other fun toys. Then there was the front desk with a display case in which 3 guns laid in. All of them revolvers with 8 bullets next to each one. I walked towards the daggers that lay on the top shelf near the back of the shop. They were all neat in their own unique way, but a certain blade struck out the most to me. It was a straight dagger that was seated on each side with only the tip being the sharpest point. But what really was magnificent was that it had old Aztec-like runes on them in a deep crimson red carved into the blade. Now Roxy was looking at the guns, of course. But guns nowadays nearly don't affect most superhumans, and because I and she are ever so young, we might not even be able to purchase a weapon here. But Roxy did say she had some connections to this place. So I trust her words. The cashier comes out of the back. Big black man with muscles that nearly tore through his white tank top and brown pants as he moved behind the desk. There was no blood on his hands or anywhere on his body. Which I find interesting, since this was supposed to be a smithery that uses people's donated blood to build and craft weapons. What do you guys want? His voice was loud and scarily deep. I looked over at him with my eyes wide and startled. We came to see your dad, Fergie, Roxy states firmly without batting an eye. Was this grown man not scary to her? He looks like he would be a challenge for even me to fight. Dad will be back any time. I'm guessing you want him to make you something special, Fergie asks with a wide smile. Yeah. But how is school doing? She says with a blank face. Was she literally talking to a college student? Am I seriously the one that she wants to be with? Middle school. It's harsh being the only one this big and ugly, he states. And that is when the room flew circles around my head. Was he saying that sarcastically? You're just big for your age. Don't worry about it, Fergie. Those kids are just being stupid, she says so softly as she stands on her tippy toes and places her hand on his shoulder. And that didn't suddenly make sense in my head. Why aren't you in school right now, Fergie? I ask a sensible question. I can ask you the same question, he says as he turns his attention towards me. Roxy takes her hand off of his shoulder and walks beside me. Touché. But still the question is out there. I am hoping to get more info from this so-called kid. My dad said he needed someone scary to look at the shop. But with that out of the way, can you please get me some candy? Like I would like some Skittles or maybe a Kit Kat. But if you can't, that's okay. And suddenly his words melted and I saw the kid behind those rippling muscles and huge build. That or this man was good at acting like a kid. Yeah, I'll have to get you next time, I say apologetically. Fergie crosses his arms and puts up his feet on the counter. Fine, he hopefully says. Roxy giggles at his actions before snuggling my arm closer to her. Suddenly this reminded me of the time I first met her. She was always this kind to me. Maybe not in a romantic way, but she made sure to look out for me. The way she covered me in a blanket and gave me a roof over my head. Roxy was definitely the one. But Helios will tear her away from me. Hey Roxy, I need to use the restroom, I state. It's in the back. Customers only, Fergie shouts, trying to inform me. I don't think he meant to scare me, but his voice nearly made me jump. I give him a thumbs up and I leave Roxy standing there as I head towards the back. Fergie, he's okay. We came here with money and we won't be leaving without paying. I hear Roxy say behind me right before I step to the right and enter the bathroom. It looks as if it just had been remodeled. The tiles beneath my feet were shiny and clean along with the walls and sink. It was nice to stand in. But now I have so many problems running through my head. I need to think about multiple factors right now. Luke has most likely run his mouth about me. Meaning cops are looking for me right now. And here I am in a smithery looking for a weapon. A weapon that can help me with Bob and Helios. He is now a worry now that I am with Roxy. Because in 2 years when I turn 18 he's coming to conquer the town, and that includes the shelter. I begin pacing around the bathroom holding my hips. And that isn't my biggest problem. What if the top chef comes down hunting me? Then I'm truly in a bind. Plus the act at the park will drive some attention there. I let out a breath of frustration. I'm not getting out of any of this. What should I do? A loud knock came from the door. The noise makes me jerk my head towards it and stare. I'm in here, I reply to the knock. My dad's here. He wants to see you, Fergie states. I'll be out in a minute, I reply as I walk to the toilet and flush it. Just to maybe trick myself that I went and I didn't just come here to rant. I step out of the bathroom and back to the front of the store. There was Roxy and Fergie standing beside each other in front of someone. I couldn't see them, whoever they were. Son, nice to see you ditching school. You're going to get me in trouble, the man behind them shouts. He was clearly angry. And you, Missy. You shouldn't even be in here with some man that I don't even know. I walk up behind Roxy and she turns her head and spots me. She smiles before moving over to stand next to her. I stepped up and in front of me was a very old man. He was wearing a long-sleeve shirt with brown shorts. His mustache was bigger than his nose. He looks at me and his face is one expression. Angry. Hello. My name is Toby and I am here to buy a weapon. I state as I extend my hand. But he just looks at my hand, then back up at my face. And here I thought I was actually going to talk to someone with half a brain. The old man coldly states as he slaps my hand away. Zensilariku. Funny guy, I like the humorous part you had added.
Okay. Alright. So that was the Gourmet Gladiator, Chapter 17, Toby's Problem. And I want to say a little warning now, as we head into the further chapters. See, the way I was writing this story was I was writing 5,000 words on a Google Doc and then posting them on Inkit. I saw that as a incorrect and inefficient way of writing a story. And so I switched to a 1,000 words per chapter typewriting. And so the chapters are shorter. So we'll probably do multiple chapters per video. I just want to state that, give you a little warning. With that said, like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. My name is Grant Ayers. Have a good one.